rainy, gloomy day. My fire's been going since yesterday. Got some old punky logs on it. Alright, so it's a cold and rainy spring day in Georgia. So I'm not going to be messing with the bees today. What I am going to do is start working on the 10-frame hive project. Now, I haven't really told you what it's going to be, but let me just ask you if you've had this problem, because I've had this problem. Every time I go out to work on my bees, I have to haul a bunch of stuff down to the bee yard. My hive tool, my veil, gloves, markers, queen cages, you name it, I've got to haul it down there, and then when I'm done with the bees, I've got to haul it all back to the shop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this 10-frame box, and I'm going to build a hive. But it's not going to be an ordinary hive. It's going to be a hive that doesn't contain bees. I'm going to hinge the door. The front door will open, the lid will open, and I will have cubbies and bins inside. This is going to be a beehive cabinet that actually stays down at the hives to contain all of the miscellaneous gear that I have to take down there every time I work on the bees. It'll also make it easier for me to get to that stuff when I'm in the middle of an inspection and I realize, hey, I need something, I forgot something. Now it will be right there. Something else that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a small bin up inside here, smallish bin, that will contain some dry material for my smoker. There will also be a place inside of this thing for the smoker. But I've been out there in the bee yard a number of times after a rain or early in the morning, and I need to get in the hives, and there is absolutely no dry material for the smoker. No dry pine needles, no dry leaves, no dry pine cones, things that I would normally burn in the smoker. Can't find it, so I'm going to keep some of it dry inside this hive. So when it's done, to the average person walking by, they're going to see a 10-frame hive. Not that there's anybody walking by on my property, but if there ever was, I don't think anybody's going to go inside this box and steal my stuff, because who's going to go mess around with a beehive, right, that is not familiar with bees? So that's what we're going to build. I think it will solve a lot of problems for me, and it may solve some problems for you. But let's go ahead and get started and see what we're going to do here. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is I need to decide how I'm going to proceed. The goal is to connect all of these boxes together. I could go either 4 high or 5 high. I think 4 is going to be enough. I don't want it to be a towering hive, especially in the winter time. So I think 4 is going to be enough, but I need to decide a couple of things. How am I going to join these boxes together, number 1? And 2, should I cut the front off to make the door before I join the boxes together, or should I join the boxes together and then rip the door off on the table saw? And I think that is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going, just to make sure that this thing is structurally sound, I think I'm going to glue the boxes together first and then rip it down on the table saw. I think the best way to join these is going to be with either dowels or biscuits. Let me see if I have any biscuits available. Voila, I have biscuits. So if you've never used one of these before, it's a very quick and effective way of joining material together, and you don't have to be as accurate as you would with dowels. With dowels, you have to make sure that the holes line up perfectly. With a biscuit, you have a little bit of slop in there so that you can slide around and adjust. So what I'm going to do is run probably 3 biscuits on each side. The front and the back will get none. Well, wait a second. The front is going to have some. That's going to be tough. Yeah, I'm going to have to put some on the front as well, and the back, which is tough because we have this lip right here, so I may actually have to take the top of this box off in order to make this work, and I think I'll do that. I'm going to rip the tops of these boxes off so that I get rid of this place where the frames hang. I don't need that anymore. something I forgot to tell you. Don't necessarily do what I do. Do everything the way that it should be done. Sometimes I'm not the safest person in the world, but make sure you follow shop safety guidelines and rules. You shouldn't be wearing dangly clothes, as one of my buddies, the Shikster, said, when you're on the saw. However, like I said, follow safety guidelines. Be safe, be careful, don't cut your fingers off. Avoid the blade, it bites. Regardless of what power tool that you are using, because power tools do not care if they bite you and you're crying. They will keep on biting and you will keep on crying. Follow the rules. Alright, so now it's time to figure out where I'm going to join these. So let's make sure that I choose the nicest boxes, because I have 5 and I'm only going to use 4. That one's got a little blowout right there. There. All right. These 2 boxes are definitely in. So we'll start with those and then we'll decide where to go from there. Right. So we'll get these things lined up, and they're pretty square, but again, ultimately these are going to look like bee boxes, so they have to look like they're stacked. Maybe even have them off a little bit. We want this to look real, but at the same time we want it to be waterproof. So we're going to make sure that we're on there the best way that we can be on there. So we're looking at 3 biscuits. So I'm going to say 1 right there, 1 right there, 1 right there. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Can eyeball it, because I like to eyeball things. Right, something I forgot to do was to mark the front and back, so let's make sure I've got these things in the right orientation, and I do. Got our biscuits sliced into the that box. Now, let's slice them into this box. We have our bottom 2 boxes done. And now, just make sure they fit together right. Throw a couple of biscuits in here. Right. Perfect. There's 2. All right, something else that I should have done, and it's not too late. It's almost too late. So I needed to mark these boxes so that I know which order they go in. This is box number 1. It's at the bottom. That's 2. That's 3. And this, provided this is how it stacks, that is going to be 4. So the question is, and this is where I really have to decide, do I want this thing to be 4 boxes high or 5 boxes high? Because if I want it to be 5 boxes high, now is the time. Let's set this up on the ground. Let's see how big it's going to be. So here's the base. And I'm going to actually have to put a biscuit in the screen bottom board. Let's take these. Take this. And then the roof. I think this is the right height because what I want to do is I want to, in order to keep this door shut, with or without a latch. I don't know whether or not I want to put a latch on it, because if I put a latch on it, then you'll be able to tell from the outside that it's a cabinet and not a hive. So what I think I'm going to do is hinge the top so that the top will open up, and then you can open the front. And I think that if I put 5 boxes on there, I think it's a little bit too high. It would give me more storage space, but do I need that many boxes? I don't think so. I think we can use the wood from this 5th box to build cubbies on the inside. I think this is going to be it. All right. So now I need to put biscuits. Maybe I want to show you something. Maybe. Or maybe not. I don't have it anymore. I had the bottom board from the orange hive with all of the bees still on it. I was actually trying to look at the bees to see if I could find the queen. Didn't find her. But I had the board of carnage sitting on the other side where I keep my beekeeping stuff, and I don't have it any longer. What are you going to do? Let's see if I have 9 biscuits left. We're getting pretty lean on the biscuits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 more. Go over and have a look. Okay, biscuits. Oh, look at that. I've hit the biscuit jackpot. Alright, so because we hit the biscuit jackpot, I'm not worried about, these are all number 20s, they are. I'm not worried about how many biscuits I use. Sometimes you hit a staple. What are you going to do? Right. Now, we have a couple more questions we have to answer. You have to forgive me. I've not planned this out. I'm just winging it. I can see it in my head. I know what it is I want. I think I'll figure out how to get there, but I don't have a plan on paper. So now, do we need to fasten this to this? And I think the answer is yes, but I don't think that we are going to fasten it with biscuits. I think what we're going to do is we're going to use screws. All right. Let's go to the drill press. I think these are the screws I want to use. Let's find a bit. I think this is the bit that I want to use. Here's a staple. That was pretty neat. now we can fasten this to here. Put a pilot hole in there. Just because. Much better. Let's try that now. All right. These pieces are married together. Now, we're going to have to cut a piece of plywood. That plywood is going to have to be 14 3/4 by the mystery number. I have to make the fake entrance reducer. Okay, what I want is 14 3/4. This is just a piece of scrap wood left over from cutting the tops off the boxes. This will make a perfect faux entrance reducer. Okay, so that will work swimmingly after I shave just a bit off on the sander. Beautiful. Right, so when that goes together, it's going to live right there. Let's take that off. Mark that. And there's that. All right, now it's time to take the measurement for the bottom board. Okay, again, follow all safety precautions when using your power tools. But I also wanted to let you know, just in case you were wondering who out there has the best neighbor, it's me. My neighbor works for a company that produces pressure-treated lumber, and I was fortunate enough that he provided me with this plywood, those 2x8s, and all the lumber that I could possibly need to build these things. So, thank you. You know who you are. Best neighbor ever. All right. think that is going to work swimmingly. So what I'm going to do, before I tap that in place, is I'm going to glue it. That is a nice tight fit. That is exactly what I was looking for. All right, now it's time to glue this box together. But not glue it to the base, because I've still got to cut the front of this box off for the door. So we're going to set this aside, because this is one unit. All right, so the first thing I want to do, I'll put some glue where the biscuits are going to go. Make sure the biscuits aren't going to come out. Then we're going to put a little glue around the outside. Because we want a tight bond. We want this to be waterproof when we're done. And don't worry if you get a little squeeze out. We'll take that off with a wet cloth and or the belt sander when we're done and it's dried. Right. Let's marry these boxes. Beautiful. Now we're just going to repeat this step a few more times. Alright, so now we have to let this dry. When it's dry, what we will do is sand it. Probably not going to stain it yet, but we're going to sand it. It'll be easier to sand when all four sides are attached. After we're done sanding it, then we will run this through the table saw and cut the front door off of it. The whole front of it's going to come off. We'll probably brace the insides with some corner blocks. And then we will marry the top, the bottom, figure out how we're going to hinge this door, probably with hinges on the inside, figure out how to hinge the roof, add some cubbies to the inside to store all of our goods, and we'll sit in here and figure out what it is that we want to store in here. I know I'm going to put a smoker, a veil, possibly a bee jacket, some gloves, that I hate the gloves, but sometimes you need them, especially when dealing with the red hive. A cubby for some dry smoker material, pine needles or whatnot. I want to keep some of that in there. And anything else we may need, maybe a couple of drawers. Maybe we want to store our markers or our queen cage or things of that nature. But we will do all of that after this dries. So I will see you in a bit. All right, so what we need to do now is we need to find out where we're going to cut this door. So now before I cut this door off, I want to make sure that I maintain the orientation of the door on the hive. So this is going to be the bottom, this is going to be the top, this is going to be the right, this is going to be the left. Let's go to the table saw. Alright, we're just going to throw a temporary in there. Now we have a front door. Now it's time to marry this cabinet to this base. So let's do that. And in case you're wondering, I'm using a number 20 biscuit. There we go. All right, got to get on the bench to clamp this thing. All right, well there's our cabinet so far. Now we're going to knock these scabs out of there. Excellent. Or as the bees say, be beautiful. That's the inside of our cabinet. Let's see what it's going to look like with our door on it. That will be the door. That's our door. It's going to open like so. It's going to be put together in such a way that you will not be able to open it unless the lid is lifted up. So we're going to hinge the back lid too. So what do you think so far? Now we just have to wait for the glue to dry again. You know, I could have built this with epoxy, 5 minute, it'd be done, but I think that outside in the elements over time, I think the epoxy, I just don't think it would work. I think good old-fashioned wood glue is the way to go. Now this isn't my tight bond that I usually use. This is Gorilla Glue, so we're really putting it to the test because this stuff is going to go outside. But overall, I think it's going to work. I think it'll be fine. Cross my fingers.